On the 11th of February 2023, I reached over to turn on a lamp in my living room, and something felt as though it snapped in my back. I fell to the floor and found myself face down, unable to move and in agonising pain. Fortunately, I'd knocked my mobile phone onto the floor in the process and was able to stretch my arm out and phone the emergency services. The paramedics triaged me over the phone, but they also explained it would be a very long time before they could attend to me. A colleague then came over to give me some Reiki to help enable me to bear the pain of being moved up and onto the sofa. I didn't know it at the time, but this moment had changed my life forever. Now, 2 years on, I believe it changed it for the better. This is a story of my rehabilitation over the past 2 years, and of learning to love myself on the journey back. The experts I consulted. I didn't wait, because I never do when my health is concerned. I take full responsibility for my own well-being. I don't sit around waiting for a doctor's appointment. I consult experts and use my money for my health over and above everything else. Because the faster you move often, the better the results and the long-term prognosis can be. However, in this instance, all of the physiotherapists, osteopaths and chiropractors I spoke to explained that they couldn't see me for at least a week. They were incredibly kind and generous with their knowledge, but I was still left at home, unable to walk and in immense pain. That pain and the uncertainty as to its exact cause led me to start contacting all of the people close to me who had told me that they'd had a back problem at some point. I asked them to share what they'd found had helped them. Cold compression at first, someone said, and then heat. Quite a few people mentioned that, in fact. Painkillers, strong ones, someone else joked. I also looked up recommendations for what to do in the immediate aftermath of an injury. Rest and hydrate, it was suggested, along with all the things my friends and neighbours had already proposed. So I did. These things got me through the first day or two, which were, I'm happy to confess, really painful. I'd never been rendered completely immobile in this way before. It wasn't pleasant. I was due to leave the country a couple of days later for a work event abroad. I cancelled it straight away. I had no choice. I told them, however, that I could do it online, which I did. Starting at 4 a.m. in the morning, propped up with hot water bottles along my back. In retrospect, this was admirable, but I won't ever be doing it again. I prioritised work commitments over my own health, probably out of shock more than anything. When I did eventually get to see an expert, it was a physiotherapist, and he was brilliant. He was in his 50s, had a lifetime of experience, and reassured me that the issue, which was with my sacrum, which is a part of the pelvic segment of the spine, could be worked upon. He managed my expectations, saying that it was likely the issue would be with me for life, but with regular treatment, exercises and preventative work for the rest of my life, we could avoid the same sudden occurrence happening to me once again. Very importantly, he asked about the exercise I had been engaging in over my lifetime. I explained that I love to walk, do yoga, cycle, a bit of strength training and cardio work. I think it's really likely that all of these have been enabling your back to compensate for some kind of injury that occurred a while ago. Can you think of any? He asked. I worked backwards and told him about the one fall I remembered in the workplace owing to malpractice by some flooring contractors. That's commensurate with exactly where the problem is, he told me. That fall had been 12 years previously. My level of fitness and the way in which I'd moved and looked after my body between then and this time had effectively enabled my spine to keep going. I found this remarkable. The physiotherapist used it to underline what good movement and exercise can achieve preventatively in terms of injuries. So he began to work on giving me musculoskeletal massage very regularly, And every day at 4 or 4:30 a.m, I got up to do the exercises he recommended for up to an hour. I also made sure to go out for 3 short walks a day as he'd advised to keep my spine mobile. Sometimes I walked up steps or slopes, as any other work to strengthen my glutes or core, as he recommended, was not going to be possible for at least a while. I had no choice. This was my back, and I was prepared to change my life forever if I could come back from this injury as well as possible. Over the weeks, the pain began to reduce. My flexibility improved, and by a few months in, I started to notice certain differences that kept my hope of an excellent recovery really alive. What has helped me? Over the last 2 years, I've gone as deep into spine health as is possible for a non-expert to go, and it's been fascinating. I already knew that our life force energy flows through our spine from my own work in the Reiki energy healing field. So I knew how important it was for my spine to be as functional, mobile and flexible as possible. I've exercised and prioritised my health my whole life, and fortunately already did lots of the things which, over the last couple of years, have enabled me to get back to living in a pain-free state. Yoga, Pilates, bodyweight training, daily walking of up to a few miles, swimming and cycling. These things, according to all the experts who have worked with me, were all essential in how I was able to recover so well and how I'm going to be able to prevent further issues. A small setback in the middle of 2024, when I suddenly woke up with severe stiffness and pain all across the upper part of my back, led me to go to a chiropractor regularly for 4 months of intensive treatment. The adjustments and manipulation that they perform on the joints is incredible. It returns flexibility and correct movement to the spine, as well as helping to alleviate pain. I'll be visiting them very regularly for the rest of my life in order to keep my back as healthy as it is now. I also came to use a shiatsu massager. They're the massagers with the little globules on that move around, and a foam roller almost daily to massage all areas of my back. It transpires that when one part of your back begins to get stiff or imbalanced, this can transfer pain and stiffness to other parts of the spine and neck. Regular massage of the muscles helps to alleviate and prevent this. I can certainly attest to this being the case. And massage just feels pretty fabulous and relaxing as well. Sample stretches. These are just a small example of some of the stretches I now do every day when I get out of bed first thing in the morning. Obviously, anyone watching is free to take them and adapt as they feel is appropriate. So these are just a few examples of the stretches I do every morning when I get up now for about 45 minutes to an hour to alleviate any stiffness or pain. And as my physiotherapist said, he'd highly recommend that every human being do this on rising in the morning. So one of the most beneficial is always bringing both legs up and into the chest and having a lovely back massage, which you can feel across the lower back, the mid and even the upper back. And it's always my first port of call whenever I have any kind of stiffness or slight pain or discomfort in the back now. Conversely, stretching in the other way, child's pose, where you're lengthening out from the base of the spine, right up and into the shoulders, rocking from side to side. With all of these movements, often makes them feel even better. Twists have been invaluable, so I find the one where you literally rest down on one shoulder, twisting from the waist with the other arm up in the air or resting on your back is so alleviating whenever I've got any discomfort in my back. And I always balance things up by doing both sides. Another twist always feels so fantastic is moving the knee up into the chest and over to the side, and moving the opposite arm out and straightening it so that your shoulder's touching the floor, and feeling the twist within the spine. This is another one that the minute I do it, it helps to alleviate any discomfort that I'm feeling anywhere in the spine. And then we do it on the other side just to balance things out. Happy baby, which everyone knows and which I just like to be, is when you put your knees in here to your shoulders, you keep your lower back on the floor, you make sure it's on the floor, and you hold really any part of your feet or ankles that you can reach. You can stay still, or you can give yourself a little rock. And this is also one of my go-tos now, whenever there's any momentary discomfort. It just alleviates everything, and it just makes you feel like a happy baby. Anything with the legs crossed, where you're leaning forward, helps to stretch out these muscles along the side of the glutes, which are also really important when it comes to alleviating back discomfort and pain. So you can just stretch forward as far as you are able. And some people just have their legs crossed in slightly. Some people are able to do the full kind of lotus position, where you have one foot resting on the opposite knee and thigh. That gives you a deeper stretch in both of the outer glutes. You also feel it right through from your lower back, right through to your upper back and shoulders, with stretching so considerably. Depending on the nature of your back injury, anything that enables you to forward fold over, but we also have to be so careful. My physiotherapist always recommends never going beyond a level 6 or 7 in discomfort. If it starts to feel a 6 or 7, you leave it there. And obviously we go down as far as we were able to. And anything that enables us to stretch our spine in the opposite way. So it could be a Sphinx pose, the light there, or it could be something like a cobra. Oh, I've got my little assistant today. Or it could be something like a full upward dog. Once you become really flexible, it's incredibly important to move your body in both directions. So something like this, the camel pose, enables you to move your spine in completely the opposite direction to some of the previous poses. And those are just a few of the ones that I do every single morning that enable me to keep as I am now, which is basically pain-free. Mindset. I've always believed that the power of mindset can never be underestimated. And from the outset, mine was really positive, even on the worst days. I believed that there was always an improved place that I could get to. Experts told me what they thought might be possible. I believed throughout that I could better their expectations, whilst being realistic that I couldn't simply undo the effects of a functional injury. I've achieved exactly what my mind told me I could. Some of my practitioners have joked that I'm the most determined and committed student they've ever seen. I figure that there's no course more worth studying and doing well in than one that can help bring you back to full health. There were, of course, days when things were hard, really hard. For many months in 2023, I went out to work and performed at events with hot water bottles under my clothes. When I was honest with people, however, about the reason why, both at work and socially, I discovered that there is a true epidemic when it comes to lack of back health. That's the main reason for my creating this film. I simply want to raise awareness that looking after your back before something severe happens is always the preferable path and is entirely possible. I've found it fascinating how many people have told me they've just learned to live with the pain, but aren't really doing any other things to help themselves. Many are on painkillers regularly. Unfortunately, I can't take painkillers as I have adverse reactions to them. Now, I'm really thankful for that. It meant that I had to find other solutions. Learning to truly love and prioritise myself. One of the most fascinating parts of this whole journey has been what sustaining a serious, life-changing injury has done for my capacity to prioritise myself and my well-being. I've always been really good at looking after my health. I eat incredibly well, exercise in a variety of ways regularly, and get good rest. However, I've also, like most, pushed myself at times to ensure I can meet professional obligations, even when I knew it didn't feel quite right to my body. Personal obligations too. Those days are entirely gone. My conviction that looking after my own health should be my number one priority each and every day, if I'm to be of any use or service to others, has been confirmed by what I've been through. For the past couple of years, I've had no option but to prioritise my health, as I was given active signs, fortunately, of pain and stiffness in my back, which constantly guided me as to how to be looking after myself each day. What's more, I found that by doing that, I became an even happier, healthier, and more content individual. Now, I love my back and myself enough to say no to absolutely anything which I don't think is in the best interests of both of them. If you told me 2 years ago this would have been one of the best things that could have happened to me, I probably would have reserved judgment, despite knowing that the unexpected, uncomfortable things which befall us are often those which help us to grow most. I work in a field of healthcare myself, so although taking care of all aspects of my health has always been a really serious priority, 2 years on, my health is now my focus from the moment I get up in the morning to the moment I go to bed. The great thing about something like a back injury, unlike certain other kinds of health issue, is that you're given an indication on a daily basis of how it's feeling. You can then monitor and respond accordingly to prevent any issues becoming worse. I'd argue that's actually true of certain other aspects of our health, and that often people just aren't listening carefully enough or loving themselves enough to allow themselves to put their own health first. Whether you're caring for others in the family or have a lot of responsibility at work, none of these things can be carried out as effectively if your own health is not at its optimum. The best way I feel I can help others, therefore, is to keep myself as well as possible in mind and body. I no longer feel guilty when I turn down opportunities so I can take care of my health. I'm also more flexible and stronger than I was before the accident. This has been unexpected, but wonderful. A surprise which I believe I'm not alone in discovering is possible after a significant injury. I've always been an extremely grateful person. I now have an even deeper appreciation for living without pain each day. Any stiffness I wake up with is alleviated by stretching and morning exercise and movement. After months of pain, I never intend to forget what a blessing living free of discomfort is, whether physical or mental. My desire to share what I've learned is because I believe we all have different life experiences, so that we can learn from them and then help others in some way as a result. What I would say to people watching is to please always love yourself enough to put your health and well-being before everything else. Ultimately, it isn't really up to anyone else to take any preventative and maintenance measures to keep you healthy in mind and body. That's entirely your responsibility. And it starts, for the most part, with thinking that you're worthy of doing just that.